Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Soul Goals. My name is Dawn, and I am so very excited to bring this special guest to you today, hailing all the way from Southern California, where she just said it's been beautiful the last few days, like summer like. But I mean, I'm from the eastern side of the United States, so I think any day in California is beautiful. That sun, like we've not had sun where I'm from for like
Wow.
today's better, but like the last 10 or 11 days, it's been like, oof, yeah, I could use a trip west just for some sunshine. Yeah. But folks, I want to tell you a little bit about my guest before I let her take off and we have this great conversation today. Joining me is former Olympian beach volleyball player, professional beach volleyball player, indoor extraordinaire. We're going to get into all of that, of how she started her volleyball career. She's also a color analyst for ESPN, indoor and beach volleyball, guys. Just the list goes on and on. The diversification in her career, what she has done in her career with her passion and being able to reflect that in many different realms is amazing. And currently she's a coach and has her own club in Southern California. Um, just great. And she's been penned as a workaholic and a very hard worker. And I'm going to tell you, I had the pleasure of meeting her in person the end of last year, and that is completely accurate. But I'm going to give another side of it because I think sometimes when we hear somebody say, "Oh, she's workaholic," or "She's this," or "She's so driven," that it can come with this piece of kind of this hard edge kind of thing. And as much as I want to say that you are a hard edge kind of person, there's a really big grace about you with um, that drive that you have. And I love that you are growing the game in that capacity and teaching youth that are wanting to play at the next level, whether it's indoor or beach volleyball, that you can have both sides of that. Like you have to be able to tap into that. I think that's such a beneficial thing, just as much as getting to the reps and being able to serve aggressively or appropriately and attack the ball and all the things that go into it. So, former Olympian and color commentator, volleyball Hall of Fame member, let's not forget that one, and the hardest worker that you're going to find, guys, Holly McPeak. Woo-hoo!
Yay.
Yes, thank you for being here today. I'm so glad you're able to join me.
Of
And
course.
gosh, I mean, like, tell me a little bit about what your life is like right now. You have been traveling, but now you're done with the commentating for a bit, right?
Yeah, I've been really fortunate. I kind of divide my life up into different seasons, and it keeps it interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think I could coach 12 months out of the year.
Okay.
So I love it, but for me it's nice. I get a freshness when I come back to it. During the fall, I cover indoor volleyball collegiately for ESPN. So I was on a plane a lot, but
Yeah.
it was so fun to be able to crown a national champion in
Yes.
Tampa in December. And then I get to come home, and for basically 2.5 months, I'm coaching my club and I'm home
Mhm.
with my family, which I love.
Yeah.
So it's a nice time for me. And then starting in March, I ramp up, and from March through May, I do collegiate beach volleyball on TV for ESPN and for actually, this is the last year, Pac-12 beach
Oh,
volleyball for Pac-12 network because the
okay.
Pac-12 is going
Going
away.
away.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
our last dance, our last hurrah. It's been a really fun ride because the Pac-12 has been so good that
Mhm.
every national championship has run through UCLA or USC. So I've been able
Yeah.
to cover it. And then when I go to the national championship, I'm always very familiar with the athletes, the coaches, the players, the storylines.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that's
love it.
kind of, yeah, what I do. And then in the summer, I have more freedom, and
Mhm.
I tend to coach a lot of collegiate athletes
Yes.
and a few juniors, but mostly collegiate athletes. That's kind of my sweet spot. I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
And I spend every morning during the week doing that.
Oh, that's amazing. And
Yeah,
that's during the summertime. So when those collegiate athletes are home, like they're in between their years, basically.
correct.
Yeah. Okay. So you're on the beach, but you didn't start really on the beach. I mean, you went to the beach and you were watching tournaments, I know, with your dad. I know I had read something about that as well. But you were like an indoor phenom. And I just want to express to people that you're 5'7". And in the volleyball world indoor, that's a hard height to achieve the kind of success that you did as a
Yeah.
setter, by the
It's
way.
now even harder because the
Yeah.
women are taller than I've ever seen before. I mean,
Yeah.
back when I played, I feel like 6'3" was enormous.
Yeah.
But again, 5'7" has traditionally been on the shorter side for volleyball. But I was a setter, so I was able to do a good enough blocking job at the net defensively,
Right.
and I was quick enough to run everything down and set up my hitters. So it was something, I started, I would say my first volleyball experience was on the beach.
Okay.
My parents would bring us to the beach, we'd rally it around. I took a little local camp, local class, and then seventh, eighth grade is when I started playing indoor.
Okay.
So I did start on the beach, but more for fun.
Got it.
And then it became more of an indoor vehicle because there wasn't professional women's beach volleyball. There wasn't collegiate beach volleyball then. So
Yeah.
I was thinking, okay, what will my vehicle be? And it was either going to be soccer or indoor volleyball.
Oh,
So
wow.
I,
You played
yeah,
soccer.
I played both through my sophomore year in high school.
Oh, wow, that's
Um, and,
great.
and then I was just too tired.
Yeah.
I was doing club soccer, club volleyball, high school soccer, high school volleyball, and I was just exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I narrowed it down and chose volleyball.
Yeah. I think about like talk a little bit about that multi-sport athlete kind of thing because I think we're getting well, and I think you brought up a really great point that exhaustion level and the point where you have to make a choice which direction
Well,
you're going to go.
yeah, I mean, the people are starting to specialize really early.
Yeah.
Um, through freshman year in high school, I think it's fantastic to play multiple sports if you can. If you can play longer, great.
Yeah.
It's just hard to do because there's people who you're competing against that are getting reps all year long. And there are some special athletes that can do both.
Right.
For me, I really enjoyed it. They were both my passions. I didn't want to switch. I was just tired and I was getting injured and run down because of
Right.
that. So I had to make a choice.
Yeah, well, which makes sense. So when you talk to your current athletes, like the ones that are recruiting to play collegiately, I mean, they're most of them at the point where they start working with you have made that specific decision that this is the direction I'm going to go in, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. In fact, I was talking to somebody over the weekend who is a sophomore and she hasn't been practicing that much. She had a really good freshman year
Mhm.
and a little bit off her game. And I said, "What's going on?" She's like, "Well, I'm playing basketball." And I'm like, well,
Um,
I'm like, I'm all for that, but you need to also make sure you're taking the sport where you want to go. Like, what
yeah,
do you want to do in college? What do you want your vehicle to be? And she said, well, I want to play beach volleyball. I said, okay, well, everybody you're competing against is practicing every single day. So
right,
you need to find, if you want to play basketball, great, but find an extra day or two where you can get specific reps to keep up with your game.
right,
And,
exactly.
and that's the challenge.
Yeah, I think so too. And making and finding a balance too as teenagers leading into that too. It's really like that can be and you're emotionally still developing, you're physically still developing. There's so much going on there. So to have a mentor that can sit down and go, all right, X, Y, and Z, I think it's super important. And I love the fact that you have that history that you did it. You know what I mean? Like you walked in those shoes.
I definitely did. I definitely did it. I know what it feels like. And now I help people along that journey. And everybody's obviously going at their own pace. Somebody could be amazing right now, but this person can have a ton of potential and can speed right by her
Yeah.
if she's able to capitalize on training and really buy in and be mindful.
Mhm.
Everybody's at a different pace. And I wasn't the best in the world early on. I mean, actually, one of my teammates got all this attention. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to do my thing and plug away over here. And, once she was the national player of the year and everything, which was
Yeah.
great. But, once we got to college and, I was able to really come into my own and figure out, how I could help my team win a national championship or get
Mhm.
better. And then obviously find my way on the beach as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think too that you brought up a really great point. I think for athletes that are still developing that may be discouraged about where they are and comparing themselves. I think that old adage, comparison is the thief of joy.
I love
It's
that.
so true.
It's so true, and I
I
love
mean,
that quote because that's in life, right? You
yeah,
you don't wanna compare your life to another, and that's the one downside of the social media. Like, I love the social media where I personally love travel, I love food, I
yes,
love inspirational stuff, so I love Instagram for that,
right.
but, you know, the stuff where you're seeing someone else's life and it looks so great and perfect and you
Mhm.
feel intimidated, or she looks amazing in a bikini, or she's always winning a gold medal, and that makes you feel bad about yourself. That's where I don't like it.
Yeah,
And obviously teen girls, teenagers, boys too, because I have a 13-year-old son.
yeah,
um, they're insecure
yeah.
about their place in life and they're trying to figure it out. So confidence is so important as you grow up, and you just want to help these young athletes
Yeah.
find that and not compare themselves to others.
Right, right. And know that they still have this potential inside of them and these things that if they plug into that and they buy into that. And I think too, like another thing that you said in an interview that I had seen recently was it's finding what works for you. And
True.
that like you said, also you talked about, so I mean, what's your vehicle? What are you going to use to get to where you want to be? That's a life
Mhm.
thing too, right there that you said.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you right now, nobody thought I could ever win a professional beach volleyball tournament. And
Wow.
I believed in myself. I grinded. I got in the gym. I got strong. I
Mhm.
did extra reps. I would always watch the finals when I was a rookie on the tour and kind of see, okay, what are they doing that makes them better than me?
Yeah.
And what can I do better? And once I really attacked my weaknesses, which is something that a lot of young athletes don't want to do, they want to practice what they're good at. I always
Yes.
ask girls, okay, we're going to work on hitting. What side do you want to work on? They'll say right side. And I'm like, okay, then we're going to do left side
Left side.
because we're going to work on your weaknesses,
Yeah.
because the stronger your weaknesses, the better your whole game.
Wow, that's yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I really focused on those, like whether they were a specific situation, a
Mhm.
specific skill, how could I get better at that? And so that's how I learned to focus. And that was the recipe that worked for me.
Yeah.
And that wasn't somebody telling me that. That was me figuring that out on my own. And I feel like a lot of times these young athletes want somebody to give them the recipe, but they need to figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely agree with you. And along the way, having somebody telling them, like, you have the ability to figure that out. And going back to your
Definitely.
point about confidence, like you
Definitely.
have the ability and you have the confidence. You just have to believe it. I love that when you said nobody thought that I could win, nobody thought that I could be as successful as I got to. Did you use that also as some fuel to kind of pull yourself into that, like, I'm gonna prove myself? Or it was at that time? I mean, obviously now it's probably you feel differently about it.
Well, I can't deny it was fun proving people wrong. I mean, it might have been a little chip
Yeah,
on my shoulder, but, I was short-ish all my life. I mean, 5'7" is not that short
yeah,
in real life, but I was always athletic, I was always competitive,
mhm,
and, yeah, I used it for motivation, and it was so fun. And even once I started winning, I never was like, "Oh, I expect to win." I
yeah,
never, ever thought that. I was like, I still have to go prove myself." I
yeah,
go, "Now it's actually even harder because there's a target on my back. I'm the top
yeah.
player, and they are coming after me, so I have to be even that much better."
Yeah. And I love that you talk about attacking your weaknesses because that is a missing thing. And if we take that outside of the game of volleyball, like we talk about sports being so parallel to life and all the lessons that we learn, like we
Mhm.
don't want to work on the hard stuff.
Of
Yeah. Like
course. It's
how
hard.
it's
It's
uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but that's where the growth happens.
Yeah.
And even if you think about it, if you're a coach or if you're in a business, yes, you can work on your weaknesses, but you also want to surround yourself with people who have those strengths. You
Yeah.
don't want people who are all the same as you. You want people to bring their strengths to the table, and that makes everybody better.
Right.
And I think, and that's how you learn and get better.
Right. Tell me a little bit about your high school, just in shoes and knee pads, because like you said earlier, there were no, like, beach wasn't really a thing yet for females,
It was
specifically
just
on a
something,
broader
yeah.
thing.
it was just something I played every summer. I loved it. I
Mhm.
I grew up a couple blocks from the beach here in Manhattan, and I would walk down in the summer, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. I was on the beach, and I
Mhm.
loved it. I played with everybody, hung out at the beach. It was just there were no cell phones. That's where people hung out. That was our social outlet. It was amazing. It was such a great lifestyle.
Yes.
But indoor was the vehicle, and at Maricosta, my local high school, it is and was the biggest sport at the school,
Okay.
women's indoor volleyball or
Yeah.
girls indoor volleyball. And the coach who was there, Daly Aldrich, was a legend already. I mean, she was tough too. Oh my
Okay.
goodness. I remember our freshman year, we came in and we did sprints, and as a team with varsity and everybody, and people were throwing up in the trash can. I mean, it was like, I was like, what is going on? I was a
This is
little
high
freshman.
school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but what I learned is obviously you can push yourself,
Yeah.
and there was strength and confidence that came from really pushing yourself hard, and we all did it as a team, and
Yeah.
it's like the blood, sweat, and tears that you put in the gym, and it just kind of bonds your group.
Yeah.
And she did not put up with any garbage. There's no excuses. If
Mhm.
you were sick, you were sitting there watching practice. People
Yep.
were not skipping out. You were not 1 minute late either for
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah.
and there's just no baloney
Yes.
accepted, and I love that, and
Mhm.
I learned, and I didn't really know this at that time. I really learned that that's the environment that I love. I love the discipline and
Yes.
the expectations and the fact that all of us were all in together. It wasn't just like, "Okay, we all show up and do this and that and
Right.
whatever." It wasn't like that, and I learned that I thrived in that environment.
So learning that, is that was the first that you really were immersed in that kind of situation where you went, "Oh my gosh, this is really for me."
Yeah, I love the sport, right? I
Mhm.
love the sport. I figured out, well, this is an environment that I can really flourish in, and I just something I learned about myself, and um, I got to experience that through high school, and we won a lot, and we were pushed hard, and always had a target on our back, but it was fun, and I was
Yeah.
able to get a scholarship to play in college because of that. And it was actually interesting because when I went to college, it was actually easier than my high school program in terms of the discipline and the demands. And it's not what you expect. I was like, wait, I am
Whoa.
used to that. It had some benefits,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it wasn't really what I loved,
Yeah.
where all the expectations and the pressures and the hard work together, we were all working towards a common goal. I mean, it
Mhm.
was okay, and I had fun, but
Mhm.
when I actually transferred to UCLA, I learned that that was the program that I was looking for. It was the
Got it.
discipline, the expectations. 1 minute late, you're running sprints. Nobody misses. We're all in, and there's something about being with a group, especially for me, of other women, and we're all working towards the same goal together.
Mhm.
It's so powerful. I
Mhm.
mean, we could achieve anything, and we did.
Yeah,
We
for
won a
sure.
national title, but to this day, we have a group chat with our volleyball team from that year.
That
And
class?
yes, and it's
Oh.
we all share, birthday wishes and fun news about one another, and
Oh,
it's really fun, and it's really special, and,
yeah.
and competitive women can be a tough group, right? We're
Right?
competitive, but when
Yeah.
you're confident in yourself and the abilities that you have, and the people around you feel the same way, it's a really powerful support system.
Right. Did you feel that that was when you transferred and you went to UCLA, that you're saying that was kind of that was your like, "Ah, yeah, this
Th-
is it. This is
those are
my
my
group. This is
people.
my
Yes,
this is
yes.
what I want."
Yeah.
And I think you bring up a really great point about the competitive women, those A-type personalities. I mean, if we multiply you by however many are on the team, like, how do you all fit together? And how do you all work with each other?
Right?
That's the thing to
Accepting a
consider.
role or
Okay.
not.
Yeah.
That's a thing too. Like, if there was a girl that I beat out to set and be the starting setter, and she was the best cheerleader, best support system. She
Mhm.
ran the B side, which made the A side better.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
it was like accepting that role. And I'll tell you, the B side came to battle. They were probably the second best team in the country behind us.
Yeah.
and taking that role and like, okay, we're going to make everyone better around us. And it was pretty amazing.
That's great. I think that's a great point. Accepting that role and really figuring out what it is that you can do to be an integral part of a team to make the team thrive. And therefore, then you have this wonderful group of competitive women that are building each other up and are flourishing all together.
It's really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
And, not only are you helping everybody around you by accepting that role, but you're also preparing yourself. Like if one of these people gets injured, you step in and you're right there.
Yeah.
You don't miss a beat.
Yes.
So it's not like, oh, I'm accepting my role on the bench, but you're like working and taking pride in what you do to make everyone better.
Right. And you never know. You never know what
You
happens.
never know.
It's about being prepared and it's about being ready at any point. So keeping yourself in your best possible scenario, being ready, being prepared.
But I still think culture is the number one factor in all these programs.
Yeah.
I think it is so important. I think it's important in the workplace. I
Yeah.
think it's important for teams and programs like collegiately. We know about the transfer portal.
Right.
And yeah, not everyone's going to be happy. Not everyone's going to play. But if you're in a healthy culture where people can thrive and you feel
Mhm.
like you're supported,
Yeah.
I just don't think there's anything better than that. And I
Yes.
think coaches know that now, and they're really putting a lot of effort into it. And that
Mhm.
really makes me happy because as soon as you see like a bunch of people leave on the portal or this or that, or people are miserable, you're like, okay, it's a culture issue, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And you got to pay attention to culture. And
Yeah.
there's a way to be strict and tough and driven and still have a culture where your athletes feel supported and protected.
Yeah, for absolutely. If there's a mic drop moment right now, that's it right there. It's very, very true. Do you think that that aspect has switched recently? Or have you seen it not be that? Or has it always kind of been there and it's just maybe materializing
It's
more so?
always been huge. Culture's always been huge. When you're part of a winning program, you know what it feels like.
Mhm.
It's the special cultures. It's not the norm. I would say not every team has a great culture.
Yeah,
It takes energy to invest in it, whether you're the coach, the players, the support system. It takes energy to build that culture.
right.
It's not always easy, but there are actually specialists who help you build culture. I know the Cal Beach volleyball team uses somebody who works with the Warriors, who does a bunch of
Okay.
buy-in and teamwork
Yeah.
and things to support their culture because it's such a big focus.
Yeah.
And if you have a great culture, you can overcome a lot. You can beat teams that might have more talent than you.
Right.
There's a lot that you can achieve.
Yeah.
So I think same thing in the workplace. You want to go to work and feel important. You want to feel valued, and you
Mhm.
want to be doing something that's bigger than you. It's not
Right.
just all about you. It's not about just about me. When I go to coach, it's definitely not about me. Some
Right.
coaches, guess what? It is about them. And I am like, I'm not telling them my
Yeah.
history.
Yeah.
Most of them don't even know I played beach volleyball.
Are you
And
serious?
seriously, I've had people say, "Oh, you played?" I'm like, "Oh, dear." But I'm not one to, like, toot my own horn.
Right. Right.
So it's funny, but that's another thing, right? I am there to make somebody better. That's the
Right.
only reason why I'm there. I have the expertise, I've been there, I have the
Mhm.
experience. I wanna help make somebody better.
Yeah, and you have that desire. Like, I mean, as you're saying that, it's just oozing out of you. The passion is just oozing out of you for it,
Oh,
which is
thank you.
great, and that's who you really want to look to, and that's who you really want to learn from. Somebody that's had that experience, that has that passion, that has that drive, and that has that ability to go, "Okay, I see this in you. How are we going to get you to see this in you?" And
True.
invest in them as people.
Yes.
That's
Yes,
awesome.
and it's powerful. I mean, it
Mhm.
carries over to everything I do, it you think, "Okay, broadcasting, totally different," but it's still a team.
Yeah.
It's still a team, we wanna work together. I wanna bring my A game. I wanna make everybody around me better and
Yes.
learn from those, that I work with. I mean, they're full-time broadcasters, and I work volleyball season and beach volleyball season.
Yeah.
So I work with the best in the business, and I'm honored, and I love the challenge, and I'm there doing the work. I do not let up because I feel fortunate to be part of the team.
I love it, Holly. I love that. So speaking of there to work, let's talk about when you're in college, still playing indoor, but also playing beach at that time as well.
Yeah.
So I want to know, you were involved in the first medal beach volleyball, like when it was a medal sport rather, in Atlanta at the Olympics. That was 96? Is that correct? 1996?
96 in
Yeah.
Atlanta. Correct.
So you made your debut when it made its debut. Tell me a little bit about what you were doing, because it sounds like you were burning the candle at both ends.
Well, no, I mean, I was done with indoor at that point.
Okay, that was so
Yeah,
you had graduated, you had
I
completed
did.
your
I
okay.
graduated my last year playing at UCLA was 1990, where we won a national
Mhm.
championship, and then I went to start playing professionally on the beach.
Got it.
So it took a little while for it to become an Olympic sport, but by 93, I was starting to win tournaments. 94, I was winning a lot. 95, I was winning everything. And they announced that my sport is going to the Olympics. So that's pretty amazing. It was an incredible opportunity. Unfortunately, we were the best team in the world, and my partner tore her rotator cuff the January before the Summer Olympics.
Oh, no.
And so we didn't have the finish we wanted.
Yeah.
It was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's just this incredible opportunity to be in an Olympics in your own country. You're the gold medal favorite, and
Yes.
your partner's hurt.
Yeah.
So we didn't even get to train very much
Mhm.
that like January through July, because she couldn't swing and she couldn't.
Oh.
It was rough.
Oh,
It was one of those heartbreaks that I suffered in sports,
yeah.
and I rebounded from. I popped up and grabbed a new partner and won the next tournament.
Mhm.
So
Well, like
it
a
just
double-edged sword almost, because it's like you're so thankful that you're having this opportunity, but then you're like so heartbroken that you can't really compete as the team that you are used to competing as.
it was unfortunate, but it
Yeah.
happens in life. It happens in sports, and
Yeah.
you got to learn from it, move on, and I did.
Yeah.
Um, and then it happened again in 2000. It
Yeah.
was an even crazier story, actually, with Misty May. She was a rookie, and we qualified in 1 year, what took everybody 2 years to qualify.
Oh my
So
gosh.
we came from 0 points and passed everybody to get to that
What?
top spot. But in the process, Misty was injured and
Yeah.
tore her abdominal muscle, and
Mm.
actually ended up having to play 4 tournaments with that tear just to clinch that qualifying spot. I mean, at the
Wow.
last tournament in China where we actually clinched, she was serving underhand. And I
Oh, are
was
you serious?
Yes, and I was setting her a little tiny quick bump set, and she would just poke it around to the court. She was so amazing that she was siding out, like, I mean, why
Oh,
they didn't serve me, I have no idea. That would have been the smarter play
yeah.
because she was a machine, and we were
Yeah.
so good at it. And so she would
Wow.
serve underhand, run to the net and block. I would dig. She could
Yeah.
transition set me, and we just made things happen.
Wow.
But
And your
again,
chemistry had to have been really great. Like, you had to have really been
oh,
connected.
yes, we did. We were our volleyball IQ and how we
Mhm.
worked together was fantastic.
Yeah.
But for 6 weeks leading up to the Olympics, she could not play beach volleyball. She had to try and rest that ab, let it heal. So again, here I am. I can't train heading into the Olympic Games when everybody else is having training camps and
Yeah.
maximizing their time.
Yeah.
So we limped into the Olympics. Our rhythm was off. Again, we
Mhm.
were one of the gold medal favorites,
Mhm.
and fell short.
Yeah.
And then literally the next week we had a tournament in Brazil. 1 week later, and we won the tournament. Beat every other team in the world. And it
Oh
was
my
like
gosh.
our timing couldn't be worse.
Oh,
So by the
that
time the third Olympics came around, my partner stayed healthy.
yeah.
But that's a 12-year span. You
Yeah.
think about it, 4 years, 4 years, 4 years. So,
Yeah.
okay, by that point, Carrie Walsh and Misty May Trainer had become the best team in the world. And
Mhm.
that was the only team that we lost to in that Olympics in Athens. So
Wow.
least I ended my Olympic career on the podium with two of my best friends from Brazil, Shelda
Yeah.
and Adriana Bayar, and then Carrie and Misty, who are the arguably the greatest team of all time. So
Right.
yeah,
How did you feel getting a medal, like, and representing your country? Even like across the board. I know that the heartbreak that you talked about, right? But that pride of being the one, like, to
it was
be there.
crazy.
I
It was a
just
crazy moment. It was the fastest moment of my life, but it was for me the pinnacle, right? I mean,
Mhm.
to be an Olympic athlete and finish on the podium, it was a blur. What happened is we finished our game. They played the gold medal match after.
Okay.
But right after our game, they're like, "Hey, we're taking you to drug testing." I'm like, "Huh?" So I couldn't even watch the gold medal match. You and I don't know if you've ever been drug tested, but I wanted to take a shower, put on my podium
Yeah.
outfit. So they're basically in the shower with me. I'm like, what is going on? But I didn't care. I was so happy.
Yeah.
So just showered, drug tested, and as soon as I was done, tweet the last whistle blows and Carrie and Misty have won. And then the
Oh,
podium was like 10 minutes later. So it was
damn.
just all a blur.
Yeah.
But what a special moment. Oh my gosh. I
Gosh,
need to
yeah.
like watch it back on DVD because I literally barely remember what happened.
Well, that's what I was just gonna ask. Do you ever, like, revisit it now?
I don't.
Mhm.
I don't. I don't. I'm not a trophy person or I mean, I know what I achieved. I'm proud of it. It feels great, but I don't go back and revisit any of that stuff. But it would be fun, you know. And sometimes I see old pictures of me playing. I'm like, oh wow, that's pretty
Wow.
cool. So it's fun to look back sometimes, but it's not something I do very often. I know there's a Brazilian girl who had like this trophy room with all her medals, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know where one of my trophies are. Just my
Really?
Olympic medal. That's it.
I was gonna say, now wait, that's gotta be in a special place,
Yeah,
correct?
my husband built a case for me, and it has
Oh,
holds the medal and it holds the olive wreath that they put on our heads when we won.
oh my gosh, all
Yeah,
of that.
yeah.
Yeah. What an experience. It's just it gives me chills when you talk about it. It's really, really special. I mean, the
It's
fact that you went and I think too, that put it in perspective, the 12-year span. And if we talk about like the mental aspect of the game and what you had to do mentally to stay kind of checked in and plugged into this whole process and feel like, okay, uh, it's doable, right? We may not have succeeded, but you know what? We have the capacity. I have the ability. I'm gonna trust, and I'm gonna know that I'm gonna work to do this. So, I mean,
Oh, I was on a mission. I was on a
yeah.
mission. Nothing was going to stop me. It was funny because some people from USA Volleyball after the first Olympics they were like, "Oh yeah, we're going to start bringing up some new young talent." And I'm like, "Okay, like
Okay.
bring it on." And then after the second Olympics, "Oh yeah, we're going to bring up some new young talent." I'm like, I'm coming back. So
Yeah.
you can't push me out of the way."
Yeah.
They would have liked that, but no
Well,
chance.
you were driven. That just again goes back to that mentality of work, and I'm not, and not, like not being afraid to work and not being afraid to attack your weaknesses like you talked about earlier.
And not and I even though I was winning and I won a lot, I was never like I said, I never thought, "Oh, I deserve to win." I felt
Mhm.
like, "Hey, I put in the work
Yeah.
to compete the best that I can."
Yeah.
So I believe that my work ethic and what I put in, I really that gave me a ton of confidence on the
Mhm.
court. And
Absolutely.
I didn't care if they were gonna try and push me aside. I said, "Yeah, just try, and, you know, I'm not leaving until I'm ready to leave."
Yeah, exactly. You're
Yeah,
gonna make that choice. And
definitely.
you trusted your training, basically.
I did. I did. I believed in my training. I knew what I was doing. Um, and yeah, I felt confident every time
Mhm.
I went out on the court to compete.
Yeah. I think it's funny, when you said at one point when they changed the dimensions of the beach volleyball court, because it used to be larger.
It did.
And for people that don't necessarily know about beach volleyball, that and here we are having this like 30-minute conversation already about it. It's 2 on 2, and a lot of times you got a big blocker at the net, and you have a fast, tiny defender in the backcourt. And you were disappointed when they made the dimensions smaller as a defender in the backcourt. Tell me a little
Well,
bit.
that was my advantage, was my speed covering the
Yes.
court.
Yeah.
And then now they were making it smaller, so players who weren't as quick and weren't as good at covering this big court as me
Yeah.
then they didn't have to move as far, longer bodies could reach things. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's where I was like, oh, this is kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
Everybody joked that, okay, this small court's going to weed out the small players, but I was able to hang in there for a little while.
Yes. Yeah. And okay, so you hung in there for quite some time. When you ended up retiring, you were asked to come out of retirement by Carrie Walsh, right? To play. And that was
Yeah,
her
but
last.
that was it was a disappointment. Not for me. I mean, Carrie Walsh and I had played in tournaments before, but I was working a job just to kind of stay busy.
Mhm.
And I was out of shape, and it was not my best performance for sure. I remember after Saturday, every muscle in my body hurt. I was like sitting in the bath going, what am I doing? Because I hadn't played in like 6 months.
Yeah.
So to go out and not have touched a ball, literally not have touched a ball.
Wow.
But I'm like, oh, Carrie, I can do this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like
So,
really
and
good with
she had
that.
to pull from somebody out of the tournament. So because the draw was already set, her partner pulled
Oh,
out. So
got it.
there I was.
So you're like,
Um,
I'm in. Okay.
I mean, it wasn't my best performance, but it was fun.
Was that the last time that you played like professionally then?
Oh gosh, probably. Yeah. I was done.
And do you miss that? Do you miss that part of it for you? Or are
You
you
know what
kind of.
I miss? I miss the competition. I love to compete.
Yeah.
And I also love to practice.
Okay.
I would love to go for an hour and just hit all my shots and jump serve balls. I mean, I don't have time to do that anymore, but I love the practice part of it. And a lot of players don't. They just want to compete.
Yeah.
But the competing is what drove me. The competition, I loved it. And for a long time, I played 4-on-4 with some local pros, and it was a lot of fun to compete at a high level. And
Mhm.
then at some point, somebody said, "Oh, you're playing too hard." I'm like, if I'm playing too hard, if you don't like the way I serve the ball, then I'm in the wrong place, because that's why I want to compete. It's
Yeah.
like, don't try and dim my light. That's another thing. Like the
Who's telling you you're
people.
competing too hard? That's
Right?
interesting.
Right? My serving strategy is too much for you? Really? Okay.
You can't take the heat
Moving
and get out
on.
of the kitchen.
Right? I know that's
Oh,
kinda how I felt, and,
wow.
so I just said, I'm not gonna play here anymore if that's how it's gonna be, and
Yeah.
that's fine. But
Yeah.
I don't wanna ever feel like I can't be me and compete,
Yeah.
hard, because that's what makes me happy, and that's what I like to do.
Yeah. When was it that you decided to start the club that you now operate, the Juniors Beach Volleyball Club?
Well, it's funny. I had just had my son, so it was 11 years ago,
Mhm.
and Eric Moana actually came to me and said, "Hey, I'm starting a club. It's all girls. I could really use a strong female voice."
Okay.
And I said, "Oh, okay." And I hadn't coached youth at that point, or juniors. I had just coached some fellow pros and kind of helped them, and I had always run a lot of my own training
Mhm.
when I was a pro. So I knew I could run a good practice. I knew I had lots of ideas, just I had never worked with young athletes. So Eric drugged me in, and then I drug Barbara Fontana in, and the rest is history. So we've been doing this, I think this is the 11th season.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you're affecting so many lives and growing the game in such a great way.
I'm trying. I'm trying. I feel like
That you
one
are.
person at a time, inspire and help, and I want to be a positive influence in these young athletes' lives, and
Yes.
not just as a coach, but also as a role model.
Mhm.
You can
As a
create
strong
the
female.
Yeah, and you can create the life you want from yourself, for
Mhm.
yourself, and
Mhm.
and knowing that. I mean, my life has turned out amazing. I mean, obviously, I'm continuing to evolve,
Yeah.
but I don't want to be limited, and I
Mhm.
don't want to be, I don't want to stop learning. Whatever it is, I want to keep getting better, and I think that's really an important lesson in life. Is you
Yeah.
just want, like, I'm curious, right?
Oh, I
And
love
I
that.
hate
Yeah.
being bad at stuff. I hate being bad at stuff. Like, I grew up, I don't think I had any home cooked meals. And now I really enjoy cooking for my
Okay.
family and taking care of them. And I love learning. Like, my husband and I went to a risotto class last night
Oh,
in
how fun.
Italy. And, I make a ton of pasta. I'm a good cook, but
Uh-huh.
I'm not great at risotto, and it's a lot of work. It's very time
Yes, it
consuming,
is.
and, like, you have to be all in right there, but,
Yeah, yeah.
it's just fun to learn. I love to travel,
Mhm.
just to explore and meet new people and keep learning.
Yeah, and stay curious. I love that. I think that's really that puts a really unique spin on all of the opportunities that can present themselves for you that you may not have ever thought, "Oh, this is a direction I might wanna go, but let me think a little bit more about it. Let me look into that." Like, yeah, stay curious, and then I think if you take that into sport too, stay curious about what you can do differently, how you can adapt, and what you need to do. You go back to the culture thing, what you do to fit into that specific space? What makes the Jenga piece of that puzzle integral in that community, and finding all of that. What would you say has been the biggest hurdle for you throughout your career, with whether it's playing, whether it's after you retiring, um, indoor, beach, personally?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I think I'm pretty stubborn, but I don't know if that's necessarily a hurdle.
Yeah. Well, I think being stubborn is an attribute that you can, again, I was want to look at it as, I'm going to stay curious about it, okay? Because like you can have one foot on one side of the line here or here, and you can use it. I mean, you can use it to your advantage in terms of your personal evolution. But then you also can use it in a place where you're just push yourself down to not accept all those great opportunities. So, but when you say stay curious, I think that puts you on that other side.
Yes, it's hard. It's good. I mean, I think in terms of challenges, they look different in lots of
Mm,
different situations.
mhm,
I think early in my career, people put some limitations on me, just
mhm.
uh, which whatever doesn't bother me.
Yeah,
I, but not letting people affect you. I think that's
yeah,
big, right? Just staying focused on what you want to achieve and doing what you set out to,
right.
and doing what you love. I mean, I feel like I get to work, right? I love what I do.
Mm, I love that.
I've been really fortunate in my broadcasting career that the people I've been able to work with, I love working with. Like,
Yeah.
it's fun. Nicole Branna, Anne Marie Anderson, and I, we get to cover Pac-12 beach volleyball together, and we travel together, and we hike, and we laugh, and we do a
Oh,
great job. We love it, and we promote the sport, but we also have a good time. And I think that's really important. We make time. I mean, we're all moms, we're
yeah.
working moms, and it's like they're my people, right?
Mhm,
The
mhm.
women who support me, get me, love me the way I am, even if I may like gnarly workouts or whatever
Mhm.
it is. I think there's things that are important. Like, we all have our roles on trips, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm in charge of food and workouts,
Okay.
and they're in charge of other stuff. But
That's awesome.
it's just fun, and I think making whatever adventure you're on fun and enjoying the process is so
Yeah.
important. I think one of the big things, in 2004, when I got my Olympic medal, on the back of it, it says, "It's not about the destination, it's about the journey." And,
Right,
like, we're all on journeys every day, and
right.
they're, short and long, and just making sure that you're enjoying the process. It's not like, once I get here, I'm gonna be happy. It's like,
Mhm.
you wanna enjoy every day,
Mm,
and
mhm,
take care of yourself and really enjoy the process. And I think I've gotten much better at that.
mhm.
When I was young and so driven, it was like, I just wanna win.
Yeah,
And, like, I didn't we were traveling on the world tour, and I didn't, like, go sightseeing or anything. I was there to win a volleyball tournament.
yeah,
And as I grew older, I was like, "You know what? I can go to a cafe and look at the Colosseum or look at the Eiffel Tower and enjoy this moment a little bit
right.
more." But early on, I was just like, "I am locked into what I wanna do. I'm not doing anything."
Yeah.
So,
Do you
you
think
learn.
that that's a product of age and experience? Or do you think that, like, if you could go back to past you and go like, "Boop," like this, and impart that wisdom, that knowing what you knew then and the experience that you're in then, that might have changed for you? Or do you think it's just something that you had to kind of evolve through to
I
get to?
think I had to evolve and learn and figure it out that I could. I think I learned that I needed more balance, like,
Uh,
because if my volleyball result wasn't what I wanted, I wasn't, not that I wasn't happy, but I was, a little grumpy. So
yeah.
so then you learn, okay, even though I lost on the volleyball court, I did all I could, but the rest of my life is great. And so just kind of opening up my eyes, and I think through experience I learned. I think
Mhm.
so in hindsight, maybe I would have wanted it differently, but I think I learned from that experience that I
Mhm.
just needed a little bit more balance in my life and just opening my eyes to the process and enjoying it.
Yeah, and that's perspective, and that's just
Definitely.
wisdom and the perspective, and I sit and talk with my kids, and it's so you're a mom, like, you look at them and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I would just you should do that differently, you should do that differently," but you can't do it for them, you know?
No, you can't. I joke with my husband that I'd love to wrap my son in bubble wrap and protect him,
Yeah,
but he needs to learn to fail, and he needs to feel pain, and I don't want him to feel any of that. But
yeah,
it's what made me gritty and strong and confident, and I feel like I can survive any situation. I
I
have
love
been
that,
in a lot of tough situations, and I feel like I can survive. I really don't feel like there's anything that I can't survive, and that's because I've been pushed and, you know, been there, done that, and responded, and I think that's a really deep, important confidence that I've been able to earn, and
right,
that's what you want your child to learn,
right.
and so they have to suffer a little bit in the process.
Right. And then they also learn along those suffering routes what it is that is valuable to them and what's not valuable to them. Like, yeah, that's a really big piece of finding a little bit more about who you are, I think.
But you have to be in those situations in
Yeah.
order to learn them.
Yeah. Amen. Oh, breaks your heart. Let's bubble wrap them all. Let's just
Yes.
bubble wrap them all. What has been the biggest blessing for you in your career so far? If you had to, maybe it's not just one, maybe it's a couple, maybe it's a few different snapshots of stuff. But what would you say is, or even a pivotal moment for you that kind of stands out for you?
Gosh, there's so many things that I've learned. One, through sports. It's, gosh, it's so hard. I mean, I feel really blessed that I found a partner in my husband who's, I
Mm.
mean, the best support system ever in whatever I do.
Oh, it's so great.
Um, and there were points where I might not have been playing my best, and instead of him, like, fluffing things up and trying to make me feel better, he's like, "Look, you're not playing very well. We're at the Olympic Games. You need to step up your game." Like,
Yeah.
he knows how to push me and make me better,
Yeah.
but then, like, wraps me up and supports me and loves me. So, he's the perfect combination.
No, I love that. It's so awesome.
So, he's been the biggest blessing. I
Yeah.
think just the life lessons that I learned. I mean, the experience at Maricosta where I learned, "Oh my gosh, I thrive in a disciplined environment." And
Yeah.
then the experience at UCLA where I was with this group of powerful, strong, incredible young women, all striving for the same goal, and it felt amazing.
Mm, mhm.
And then the confidence came from that nobody thought I could win a professional beach volleyball tournament, and I put my mind to it, and I did the work. That was
Mhm.
the great thing about beach volleyball back in the day.
Mhm.
You got out of it what you put into it,
Mm,
and
mhm.
nobody outworked me.
Yeah.
Nobody outworked me, and I was mindful of my reps, and
Yeah.
I went to work. I dated a guy at the time, and he would say, "You're gnarly." I'm like, "I don't care. I'm here to win. I don't care if you think I'm gnarly.
Yeah.
I have goals." And
Yeah.
I wasn't like, "Oh, I'm gonna win tournaments," but deep
Yeah,
down, I was
it's a
like,
drive.
"Yes."
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know what that came from. I feel like I was competitive at a young age. I have a twin brother and a younger sister.
Okay.
My mom was really competitive. My dad was really disciplined. So I feel like
Mm.
I got the best combination of
Yes.
them, and that really helped just form that foundation for my life as an athlete.
Yeah. Did your siblings, do they play any kind of sports or anything to
Uh,
competitively?
they both played sports. My sister played soccer. My
Mhm.
brother played all sports. He played volleyball. He was a little bit shorter for men's, but
Okay.
after high school, he stopped playing, and same with my sister. Yeah, my sister was done after high school too.
Okay.
So, I mean, but my sister surfs every day. My brother plays pickleball. I mean, we're all very
Very
athletic
active.
and competitive, and it was a healthy environment to grow up in.
Oh, I think it's awesome because I think sometimes it can be a really unhealthy balance, like that competitive discipline can take a whole other. You talk about having to find balance. How great was it that you were in a household that already kind of had both of those elements, but it sounds to me like it was done in a way that was conducive to all of you to be able to
Well,
find what it is
it's
you wanted.
my parents were in different houses, so I got it at different houses because they divorced
Okay.
when I was 5. So, it
Oh.
wasn't in the same house. That would have been interesting, but I also think
Well, maybe that was the benefit though
yeah,
for you.
maybe, maybe.
I mean, as much as we wanna say that, like, we don't wanna see a household split,
Mhm.
but if you think about the 2 attributes that you brought forward, that discipline and that competitiveness, that I mean, independently learning about yourself in those 2 veins, if you will, is it's sounds like it was pretty productive for you, and it kinda helped you find your perspective in terms of your own balance too.
It did, it
Yeah.
did.
Where do you see yourself maybe 10 years from 5, 10 years from now, professionally, personally?
Oh gosh. What I'm learning, I love working hard, but I also love spending time with my family. I
Yeah.
love traveling. Traveling is a big passion for me, and I hope to be traveling more with my husband. Um, my son is getting older. He's 13. He's in 7th grade. So obviously, when they're in high school, it's important to be around, and I'm
Yeah.
planning on being around a lot. But
Yeah.
I also want to make sure I'm exploring all different parts of the world. I just there's so many places I want to see, and on
Yeah.
Instagram, they're just luring me to all these different places all the time. I really want to see the Northern Lights,
Yeah.
the Aurora
Beautiful.
Borealis, which is supposed to be amazing this year. So I'm
Yeah.
like dreaming about a trip.
Hmm.
And I also, after Christmas, I said to my family, I said, you know what? I would like, and I love Christmas. It's my favorite holiday. I'd
Okay.
love to skip the presents part and let's go make memories. Let's
Yes.
do
Yeah.
a trip. Let's
Yeah.
make memories. That is what's most valuable to me.
Yeah.
I don't need stuff. I don't need, and that's something that I think with experience in life, as you grow up, I
Mhm.
don't care about stuff anymore.
Yeah.
I want quality people around me and quality time, and I want to
Yes.
make memories, but
Yeah.
like forget the presents.
Yeah. We did that with or my older daughter asked for that for Christmas. She's like, "Hey, like, let's do a mom and daughter trip just, like, for a long weekend." And we went to a city that neither one of us had ever been to and just explored for, like, basically 72 hours and walked I don't know
Perfect.
how many miles, but it was the experience and spending that time together and that
The best.
quality. Yeah.
Well,
And I
it's like if do you are you familiar with all the love languages?
yes.
I think as
Yes.
you grow up, you learn what makes you happy and those love
Mhm.
languages, and that for me, quality time is so important with my loved ones. And
Yes.
so gosh, there's so much wisdom that comes with experience and
Mhm.
confidence. And I feel, you know, I've learned a lot and I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah. Well, I love it. I love thank you for sharing such vulnerable pieces of yourself and your story today.
Of course.
It's been amazing and learning more about your process and more about you as a person and the wealth of information on how you can be competitive, you can be driven, but you also can be very gracious about it too. I think you've really walk a really beautiful path with that and it's not something that you're saying you shouldn't be ashamed of being driven. You shouldn't be ashamed of being let's go and competitive. But being this person that you can find that healthy balance and understand what you can push and what you don't need to push is it's a great you're a great role model. I'm super
Thank
appreciative
you.
of that
Thank
for being able
you.
to talk to you. And yeah, and for
Yeah,
any time my kids can be around you, I'm like, yeah, let's go. Absolutely. So,
love
but
it.
before I let you go, I want to kind of go a different direction and do some rapid fire questions just to kind
Okay.
of show another side of your personality. So maybe
All
your
right.
athletes will watch this and go, "Oh my god, I had no idea."
Okay.
Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. Question number 1. What has been your favorite age so far?
Ooh, gosh, my favorite age. I think I like 23 a lot
Okay,
because that's
why?
when I first started winning tournaments.
Oh,
It
nice.
it was just such a powerful feeling.
Yeah,
I didn't have any money growing up, and I was really like, just to be able to make my own money, and it was
yeah.
just a very powerful, feeling.
And you had worked. It's fulfilling.
Yes, very fulfilling,
It's start like the fruits of your labor are starting to show up. Like
definitely.
it's popping off the vine. You're like, "I'm good. I love it." All right, question number 2. This is a good one. Would you rather be able to fly, or have superhuman strength?
Fly.
Okay. Tell me why.
I could go anywhere.
Oh, that's right, with the travel.
I
You
could
could
go anywhere.
literally
I could fly anywhere. I could be anywhere. I could that'd be amazing.
you know what? I agree with you. I thought maybe you would say superhuman strength, but the fly makes complete
What would
sense.
I do with superhuman strength?
I don't know. Well, I do know you like to work out and you like to lift weights. Maybe we could like come up with a new workout plan or a new
Yeah, but then I already had that strength, so I wouldn't have to
you
work
need
out,
something
right?
new. Yeah. Work on the way. I could God, there another mic drop moment with
Yeah.
Holly McPeak. There we go. All right, question number 3. What is your go-to snack?
Oh my gosh, my go-to snack. Oh, I'm a snacker, so there's just so many good things. Oh my gosh, I love a good charcuterie board with cheeses
Oh,
and crackers. I
yeah.
love chips and guacamole and salsa.
Yes.
Um, gosh, those are I mean, I love all of that.
If we opened up your bag when you were traveling and you were playing a lot, what would we find in there food-wise?
Oh, I always had, like, some kind of a protein bar. I like to play on kind of a light stomach, not a lot
Mhm.
of food in my stomach, just kind of a breakfast and, like, a protein bar where if I could just take a bite, it would sustain me.
Yeah.
That's how I'd like to play, so I'd always have, like, a good protein bar, sunscreen,
Okay.
um, and a change of clothes.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. All right. Question number 4. What is the best present that you have ever received?
My son.
Oh, oh, that's sweet. Yeah. And he's 13, you said? 7th grade? That's a great age. They still
Yeah,
need you and they're still like, you're still cool. Like, you're still
yeah,
kind of like, yeah, yeah. Oh,
yeah,
he's
he's
so
sweet.
sweet. Yeah. Um, what are some of the things that he likes to do, like, you guys like to do together?
Oh gosh, I just love the way he loves me, you know? He's
Oh.
just
There's nothing like a mother-son bond, I will tell you, like, all day long, and I have 2 girls, but watching my mother-in-law with my husband is just such a it's 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 so interesting because I mean, I don't know of it, but like, watching your relationship, it's very special. It's
it
very
is.
special,
It
for sure.
is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, last question, and we'll get just a
Okay.
little bit deeper here.
Okay.
What would you think is the key to life?
Oh, there's a lot more than one key to life,
Yeah.
but I think, basing gosh, it's just not one. There's so much to living a healthy, fulfilled life. One,
Mhm.
obviously, starting your day with gratitude. I
Mhm.
think confidence is really important. I think being a good person and working to do things that you love to do, but also helping those around you. I think that's really powerful.
Yeah.
There's just so many different things you can do. I believe in maximizing your potential.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. If you have a ton of potential and you're sitting on the couch and you're not doing anything with it, it seems to be a waste.
Right.
So I feel like it's funny as an athlete, when I competed, I felt like a lot of the athletes had way more talent than me. Like, well, no, I knew they did,
Okay.
but I outworked them.
Yeah. What's
And I
that
think
adage? Hard work works hard when talent doesn't, or I can't say it properly.
something where the hard work beats talent every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's true. So,
Mhm.
I mean, all these things, and it's it's holistic, right? You need all these things. It can't just
Mhm.
be one. You can't just be amazing in the confidence area, but not have the other stuff. So,
Yeah.
I'm every day I wake up grateful. I have the best life, the best, situation, and obviously there's challenges in my life.
Mhm.
Not everything's perfect,
Sure.
but those are the things that, shape my life and help me every day.
Yeah.
And
And
so
you've cultivated that life. You've worked very hard to get that life there where you are now. It's been a big piece for you.
I yeah,
So
I think so. I mean, I feel like I've grown and evolved and I work, and like I said, I always like to learn and get better,
Mhm.
and I don't think I'm perfect. I think there's areas that I can get better at. And I just want to, like I said, continue to grow.
Yeah.
Continue to learn, and there's a lot of stuff I don't know about, but if it interests me and I wanna do it, I'm all in, and I like listening to different perspectives, and even as a coach and a beach volleyball coach, I know a lot of drills. I probably forgot more drills than I know that, like, are at the front of my head, so
Yeah.
I'll watch other people's videos and say, "Oh, that's a good idea, I need to bring that back," or, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool, I like that," and I love the way the Brazilians train just
Yeah.
in terms of how they're creative with drills and how many
Mm.
touches you get. I love that. And I used to train a lot with the Brazilians.
That's constantly learning, and like you said earlier, staying
Mhm.
curious,
Definitely.
and having that curiosity about you. I also read something the other day about somebody was saying they were kind of knocking positive people and people that had a lot of gratitude and things, and I'm like, I don't think
Why?
yeah, well, it's like I
Why
don't
are you
think
knocking anybody? If you're not happy, I mean, that's just like, I always tell my son, like, if people are being mean to you, they don't feel good about themselves. That's why they're
yes.
doing that.
Yeah,
There's no reason to knock positive people, for
right.
God's sakes.
Right. And the positive people and the people that have that gratitude as their center, I think you said it. It's not that life is not without challenges, it's the choice and the reaction that they've made in
Definitely.
those hard moments.
Hmm.
And it's choice. It's basically we have choice. And I think if I could just really pound that into my bubble wrapped children, I'll be good. Always have choice. You always have choice to wake up and be gracious and filled with gratitude for your day and for your life and your capabilities and your gifts and all the places you've been, and be thankful for those challenges too. Wouldn't have made you the person you are
They
at all.
shape me for sure.
Yeah. Holly, you've been amazing. I am
Yeah.
so, so, so thankful for you and for your talk. And like I said, being so open and so vulnerable with all of your life experience and everything that you just shared with us. And gosh, what's on your next agenda? What are you doing the rest of your day? Do you have plans? Are you?
I'm coaching. We have
Oh,
we have club
nice.
practice today. It's a beautiful day. I want to get out. I mean, it's 70 and sunny, so get a little sunshine, a little vitamin D, and
There you go.
I'm coaching, and that's how I get to spend the rest of my afternoon. So I'm excited about it.
Well, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, good sessions this afternoon with your group, and a wonderful rest of your week too.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Have a great one.
You too.